So today we're going to take a look at the rematch between TSM and Sentinels because it was the tier 2 teams in the Ludwig Tarek Invitational that were ultimately the best teams, it turns out, at the tournament. As TSM and the Guard would end up playing in the grand final, and T1 and Sentinels, the two tier 1 teams, would get knocked out before that. So let's take a look at how this game went down, and we'll start here on Fracture with this round number 6. TSM are defending, Sentinels are on the attack, and what's going to start off in this round, and I do think that TSM played a very good game, particularly this first half. They were dominant, I thought, which is they're going to go for a north side pinch here. So we're going to get these two coming up here and getting aggressive here. Our Raze is going to come up here. The Viper here, Haze, is going to do something quite interesting as well, because initially it kind of looks like, oh, maybe the Viper will go as well, right? But actually that's not going to be the case. So we'll just watch it play out, and there's 3 Sentinels players here as well, so we're going to see that we actually have a bit of a 3-on-2. An early Siege comes out there, we get a Prowler, we get an Astra Star just in there as well. You start to see that our Raze starts to come up also. We get this Astra Suck then into this Fade Ult, as you can see coming across just there, and that is kind of a cue for this Raze to go. But whilst this is going on, our Viper is now beelining it this way. And why is that the case? Well, they've got this Cypher Cam down here, so they can see that there's not too much going on there. You know, they've got the 2 people here. They know that this pinch is coming in. So the reaction often for these kind of players, when you know that there's aggression coming from here, is just to quickly bookend it there, right? But the thing is, we do have these Cypher Trips here. And these Cypher Trips are here, and our Cypher's over here, because TENS has a KO ult. And so, you know, in the event that a KO ult comes in this way, right, you know, your Cypher is over here, doesn't get suppressed, these strips are still up, potentially you got a kill from it. But what's going to happen is these strips will play a bit of a part as they start to get aggressive here, and obviously they can see TENS with the little trail here. GMD gets that kill, then we're going to pop the Raze ult from across town, and we're going to get a Raze ult across here as well. These 2 players are very close to coming in onto the site, as you can see. So the Raze ult gets the kill just here, and then these 2 are about to come to the site, but Hazed on Viper, you know, kind of predicting that this would be the case, that these guys are going to try and come quick. I'm not sure if actually Zekken gets caught by the trip there, or if he just shoots it, but now clearly Hazed can see that they are coming in there, and so he's going to not just get the first kill, but also manage to get Zekken as well. 2 really nice kills. Then we end up in this 5v1, and we will run this just a bit quicker because this is going to take a little bit of time here in this 4v1, but eventually TSM will win it out. And I thought that this was kind of, you know, a good reflection of how this kind of game went. You saw that TSM's plan there kind of went perfectly, right? We were getting kills from our Fatal. We're getting, you know, well predicted by Hazed of what was going to happen as well. And then ultimately, eventually, as Def tries to swing out and get this kill after tapping the spike, TSM win the round, and it really was a very good start to the game for them. And now let's come to round number 7. And round number 7 is a type of round that if you know, are a big fan of TMV, you will have seen quite a few of these rounds happen in pro play. They happen somewhat fairly often, and it's when someone throws a big advantage in a round. And to be fair to TSM, this isn't the worst example of it I've ever seen, but it is still an example of pros making a mistake that honestly most pros do make. And that is this kind of ranked mindset. But what's going to happen here is Sentinels are just grouping up in A main. You know, they come in. They don't even have great weapons here, Sentinels. But GMD just goes huge, right? He gets 1, 2, and 3. Ultimately does die there to death. But we end up in a 4v2, right? Not only do we end up in a 4v2, I believe that they saw that the Brim was out of this smoke as well. So I think that they know where both players are at this point, and we're in a 4v2. Right, TSM at this point in the round have a very, very good chance of winning this round, right? Something pretty catastrophic is going to have to happen for them to lose this round. They are going to lose this round. And let's talk about how you should play this situation, because these 2 players here you can see are on this kind of fast flank, right? They've come down here very, very fast, and they're going to try and surprise these guys, you know, swing out and trying to, you know, they're going to try and get this kill. Okay, and this isn't going to be the worst example of this that I've ever seen, but you're going to see that these 2 players start sneaking up here. And to be fair to these 2 players, literally every Valorant player in the world, I think, would do what these 2 players are about to do. Which is, you know, come around this corner and try and get these kills. Hey, we know where they are. And even our Fade is going to cause a distraction here by opening the door with a Fade Horn as well, you know, to try and distract these players. But this is a mistake, right? Because we're in a 4v2 and we know where both players are. Our win percentage, as I said in this round, is super high at this point. Really, really high. And so when your win percentage in a round is really, really high, you want to play really, really safe. right? You don't want anything weird to happen. You don't want to take any risks, because if things just play out normally, you should be able to win the round, right? We don't want any 1v1s, 2v2 fights even. And you could even argue, these guys coming around here, they're making this a bit of a 2v2 fight. But you're in a 4v2, so why would you ever need to do that, right? And they are going to get some help from the Fade and a bit of a distraction coming in here. But we don't need to do that, right? In this instance, as soon as it got to a 4v2 and they knew where these guys were, ideally what the call should be is one person is going to stay here by this box and just be like jump peeking, not trying to take a fight, right? They're just going to see if these people do come back out. The other person is going to rotate all the way around back here and come to these two players as well to come and help them out. We still have these cipher trips, so we know if they come out this way as well, right? We've got good information if they're coming out this way. So really, we only have to defend the door and defend them coming back out the other way. And we're good. And we're going to play the time and we're going to play together. And that's how we're going to play this round. But that's not how this round ends up going. And look, this is the tricky thing about Valorant, right? That if this was a 3v2, what they do here, I don't have too much of a problem with, right? Let's say that this Raze isn't in the game, right? This Raze is dead. Then this Fade is in a very tricky situation, right? If these two come barging out this door, this Fade's in a 2v1, very tricky, right? Not an easy situation. So what they do here would be fine, in my opinion. But because we've got two players here, right, we're just in such a good position, there's no need to do what happens next. And sure, you could say it's a bit unlucky what happens next, but you create your own luck, right? So a Fade Haunt comes in, and, again, thinking about it, right, this Fade Haunt comes in, but Pancata's standing on that side of it, so that automatically turns him this way, right? He turns this way to come and look at this Fade Haunt, and that's going to turn him right into where these TSM players are then peeking, right? So there it goes, and Pancata and these two are going to line up, and they die. And now all of a sudden we've gone from a 4v2, and this Fade's prowling as well now rather than swinging out. Our Raze should probably be here as well, coming with us, right? There's no need really not to at this point. We probably should all just be swinging as a team, assuming that they do know this Brim is here. I guess, I don't know for 100% they did know the Brim. I mean, I guess they do now, but, going into it, I'm not sure 100% they knew, but the way they played it kind of looked like they knew. So our Raze should probably be here with us as well. This Fade is prowling when those guys are swinging, right? We probably should just all be swinging at this point if we're going to do that. But instead, we end up in a 2v2. Cypher ult comes out, and now, Sentinels just run the other way. They know where they both are. They just run the other way. And as I said, TSM are going to lose this round. And this is something that honestly happens to pro teams all the time. Literally all the time. It shouldn't, but it does. And so Def gets the spike down just there. He is going to die here, Def. And you think, oh, that's not a good situation. But Pancata is going to play this, in my opinion, pretty beautifully, right? Because they have no idea when Pancata is, right? They're even checking behind because he could have come, back this way. He's actually gone underneath as we've seen, but, he could be down here. He could be up in tower. He could be on the site, right? He really could be anywhere at this point. And he's going to use that to his advantage. Because the thing is, he's only on 21 HP. So if he takes a fight, a normal fight, he's probably going to lose. Because they only need a body shot, right? They don't need to be accurate or anything like that. They just need a body shot and he's dead. So it looks like initially, he's trying to take this fight. He thinks maybe this will be a 1v1, but then he just tucks in, right? And he tucks in because he's going to use the advantage of them not knowing where he is, right? So he hears them both run past him. And now they are, both checking down there, right? And then they're going to turn to tower, right? Like, this is all very normal stuff. You don't expect this at all. And so he just goes 1-2 and wins the round, right? Really, really well played by Pancata, understanding the situation there. But, these type of rounds, losing these 4v2s, it happens far too often in pro games. Far more than it should, to be honest. And, Pancata, sure, maybe he gets a little lucky that they line up and whatnot, but they never should have been in that situation to begin with. And it's a round that Sentinels, probably shouldn't have won, but it did end up winning. And now let's come to round number 16, which is truly a bit of a bizarre round. So TSM are now attacking, Sentinels are now defending. And TSM, they start off towards this kind of little arcade push, but they send out this Fade Prowler, which destroys the tripwire just there. And we've got 7 down here playing Cypher. He's just on his own, right? He's got the camera for A main. He's got a tripwire across here, but Sentinels actually do start pushing out of B main, as you can see, as TSM make their way back across. But they're just going to leave Corey on this side of the map to do a little lurking here towards B, maybe, cause a bit of a distraction even perhaps. But look, Sentinels are already coming. You can already start to see how this is starting to play out as a bit of a bizarre round because of the weird positions of the Sentinel players, right? So they get all the way up here. They see the tripwire. They then see 7, right? Who then sees that there's multiple players right there. So you just take a look at the map right now, right? It's a very, very odd where all of these Sentinel players are. And 7 ends up in a really weird spot where, you know, his kind of escape is to just run in onto site, but that doesn't feel that safe. So he doesn't really know what to do. So he ends up putting that cage. And again, like, Sentinels have all of this control. And it's like these guys don't know what to. It's like you want to help your teammate here, right? You don't just want to abandon your teammate, but they also don't want to just enter the site. But they don't want to just leave him either, so it's a very, very odd position. But then a smoke goes up on Dish, so they kind of can't help him anymore. 7 does get 1 kill, but then gets traded. They kind of fake as if they're coming towards Dish, but of course this doesn't make any sense anymore, right? Because you already know that these guys are already here, so, you know, you're going to have trouble. And if there's anyone else here as well, you know, that's going to be even harder to take. So eventually the call comes in to rotate across to the other way. But the thing is, there's only 28 seconds left in the round when that call comes in. So, you know, the time is really ticking here as they start to go across the map. We do have Corey, who's kind of come all the way around behind Sentinels at this point. And after he gets that kill, you know, they're now desperately trying to get in onto the site, as you can see. But what's going to happen is, as they try and come in to plant the spike, you know, knowing that, you know, there's 5 seconds left, so if that spike planter goes down, it's over. Second's just going to take this risk, come out of that Viper's smoke, and just get that kill, and then run away. And Sentinels managed to win the round. A truly little bizarre round. It's one of them situations where TSM, I think, didn't want to just leave 7 to die, but maybe that was the right choice. You know, often that isn't the right choice in a round, but maybe in this particular circumstance it was. Very, very odd round, but Zekken and Sentinels managed to win it. And now let's come to round number 21, and I've been talking about this kind of thing really all week. And this is another example of it here, which is playing to your opponent's win conditions and understanding what their win conditions in a round are and, you know, trying to negate them in some way, right? And one of the win conditions here for this round, round 21 for TSM, is the fact that they have a Viper's Pit, right? Viper's Pit, very strong ult. And so, you know, if they can get into a nice position and get this Viper's Pit down, obviously that's going to make the round pretty tricky for Sentinels. And I just don't really love the way that Sentinels play this round, as you'll see. Because what's going to happen is they're going to put a camera down here in B main. Absolutely fine, no problem with that. But then we're going to see that Def is going to end up rotating across to these guys over here towards A, right? So we've got 4 people towards A. The problem with this is you see where they're playing here, right? So we've got Pancata all alone over towards B, right? They've got a Viper's Pit, we know that, so, you know, we're playing this kind of full retake on B, but we're retaking into what would be a Viper's Pit if they do come towards B, right? Then you've got 4 players towards here, but they don't really get, you know, too aggressive or anything like that. Initially, it looks like, you know, they are going to try and hold A main, but you're going to see in a second, they actually end up kind of backing off this. And it just ends up in a very, very odd position as TSM do just start to walk down here. They do get this KO knife out, right? But again, they've got no information on what's going on over here. And if we just take a look and kind of think about what is Sentinel's map control at this point, right? As this smoke comes in here, you know, you look at their positions. Obviously, they have like none of the B site. Sure, they have the Cypher cell, but, you know, they don't actually have anyone there to kind of stop them coming into the B site. So they have like none of that, right? Look at where they are now. You know, they've got basically this, right? This is their basic kind of territory control at this point. This is nothing, right? And we've just got 4 people kind of, you know, towards A, not really doing too much, kind of just hoping that they come to A, I guess, and then they'll have a strong site hold. But what's going to happen is they break this trip, and then actually GMD and Hayes end up, you know, kind of walking into here. And now again, you know, these guys are confused. A Prowler's going to come out here, so that kind of confuses them as well, right? At this point, you know, they've got no idea what's going on here, no idea what's going on there, no idea what's going on here. Honestly, no idea what's going there. You know, maybe you can check the Cypher cam every so often and know what's going down here in B main, but, you know, you've given up so much of the map at this point. And again, they have a Viper's Pit, right? So what's going to happen is, well, exactly what you expect to happen. They're just going to put this Viper's Pit down on B, and they're just going to come in towards this B site. Right, so this Viper's Pit, this super good Viper's Pit comes in, and now you have to retake, you know, only coming from CT, because, you know, you don't know what's going on here, you don't know what's going on there, right? So you have to come from all the same way into this Viper's Pit. And it's just a very, very odd setup, I thought, to be honest, and just doesn't kind of fit off on what happens on Fracture. So the spike goes down, and now we are going to see this retake start to come in. Actually, TSM even use, a Fatal. They use their Astral just there, as you see. And we're going to try and, see if they can get in onto the site. We get this lovely Fade Seize, which seizes 4 people. The Boombot also comes out there as well. And now they have a very difficult task, right? And again, as I've said, it's like playing into your opponent's win conditions. I think that this is probably going to be something I'm going to be harping on in 2023 quite a lot, right? Obviously, Valorant keeps improving each year, but these kind of things, this understanding of ultimates and like how to play around based on what your opponent's ultimates are and stuff like that, I think is still in kind of a developmental phase. And maybe by the end of the year, we'll be seeing much better kind of use of this and understanding of this. But right now, I think, it's something that a lot of teams, could work on, to be honest, and try and become, that really next level team. Now, what happens here, and I found this a bit odd as well, because it's happened multiple times where Hazed, I'm not sure if they didn't read the patch notes, right, and don't know that this Viper Spit drops very, very quickly, but this happened multiple times in this game, where I felt like they left the Viper Spit, like, long before they really needed to, right? Sentinels haven't done anything yet, right? They haven't sent in any utility, they haven't done anything, really. And so I didn't really see the need for him to, leave at this point, right? They'd been down here. They got these 2 trips, so, they should feel fairly confident that no one has come this way or this way, because there is no one on Sentinel's team who can, get past these trips without breaking them. And so, yeah, they should feel pretty confident that no one is down here. No one's coming up here. That they're all coming this way. So I don't really know why Hayes felt the need to leave just yet, because this Viper Spit is going to drop and it's going to create a bit of chaos. And Sentinel's retake is pretty nice, but I think they get helped out massively by the fact that, the pit drops. So we start getting trades back there, but GMD's just left in a terrible position without the Viper Spit. Zekken just goes absolutely nuts, and they do manage to kill everyone on TSM, but the time is too late. They can't defuse it in time, and so TSM end up winning the round ultimately. And that got them to 12, and then they would go on to win the game. And yeah, I think, obviously Sentinels, they haven't been practicing for a super long time, so, I'll give them a bit of a break on, having some bad rounds or maybe even losing this game, right? It's fine. Don't really care. But I thought it was a pretty interesting game, and I thought TSM, coming off their first day, probably everyone thought, oh, they don't look too good. But now, having beaten Sentinels and T1, I think probably people think, well, TSM, not too bad. And so, yeah, very interesting tournament to see the tier 2 teams rise up, and it just goes to show how kind of close Valorant is right now.